The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is Monday in the Riven. What a weekend and a holiday weekend we had. There's bullets flying, people ducking.
People getting stabbed in the back.
People getting stabbed.
Literally.
But remember, Paulie's got $2 million for youth programs. We'll get into that later, but we've had some shootings, some stabbing. Fall River is, let's let them all come down. They're all going to love to come down from Boston and get shot and stabbed.
Right.
So let's do this.
Yep.
We got a lot to talk about today.
Yeah, so I guess on Columbia Street there was a shooting. A few shots were fired. A car then hit a pole or telephone pole or something, and 3 males and a female escaped from the vehicle. Don't know how much they're involved in this, but it was enough to make the scanner go crazy. Then we had a stabbing on Hope Street. Mm-hmm. Guy got stabbed in the back. Hey, why not, right? We get stabbed in the back all the time in this city, but not literally.
Especially by the politicians.
That's right. So, these are all we've heard for the past couple of days is shootings, stabbings, all this stuff that's going on. Bodies being found.
Yeah, bodies found, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's all property. They're going to flock down here from Boston. That's right. They're going to come down.
They're building a flyer.
We got the train.
They're building a flyer just for that. Come to Fall River where you can be stabbed.
They're not going to come down here and go to Somerset and Swansea and Westport. No, because they can live in Boston, which is one of the highest places for affordability to live in the country. They're going to come to Fall River, and walk around in a place where limited amount of restaurants, limited around everything. Small communities like Seacon got far more places to eat, far more. Look, we got a lot of great Portuguese restaurants in Fall River, but fundamentally, we don't have a lot of other types. And McGovern's is about the only major restaurant that serves regular food, American food, not an ethnic variety of food. But, this is all, propaganda. We know what they wanted. The rich developers wanted to get their mitts on the waterfront, and they have succeeded. And we don't even know if the tea is going to end up coming here, because remember, the the MBTA director is resigning at the end of the month because he wants to get out of there before he goes to jail, because they are so far in debt. And they're going to get a new director. And who knows what they're going to do? They may not even come here. They may have limited service here. But they also evaluate. They shut down the service to the Cape.
Right.
So just because it comes here doesn't mean it's going to stay here. So again, these people were sold another bill of goods like they were with the charter. The reality is that this is a pile of crap. You're going to take the tea to go shopping in Boston. That's just how clueless this administration is. They can't afford to shop in Fall River. They're going to go to Boston and pay 4 or 5 times the prices. People from Boston are going to come down here in a city that has a failing educational system. We couldn't crack the top 200. We were #1 in crime. Oh yeah, that's where all the Bostonians want to come, Paulie. You guys are the propaganda experts and everything, and that will segue us into one of the things I want to talk about. But let's clean this up, because look we've got delusionaryville running this city. I know he spent his whole career in the school department, and by the way, didn't do a really good job, because he taught for, 30 years or so. And then he was a school committeeman. for a couple terms, I guess. I don't know how many terms. It's irrelevant because he did nothing anyway with his background, except make jobs. They're creating new jobs. They got a new, I mean, the superintendent of schools has got what now, 8 assistants?
I guess so, yeah.
And a guy's making $250,000 a year. He can't run a failing school department. And then now he's creating all kinds of high-end jobs for his friends while the system fails. We can't crack the top 200 in education. Yet he was supposedly a lifelong educator. But now he's become a new expert in public safety because he says it doesn't matter where you stick an ambulance. Even though he's never worked in that field, doesn't know anything about response times, and is full of crap, frankly. But this is what you get. I'm going to go into the crap show that was in our local newspaper later on. But we can just, I don't know where you want to go from here. But the thing is that, this is a giant con. He has been a failure in his own field as an educator. Now he's the mayor. He's the chairman of the school committee. We got a failing education system. All they've ever done is create high-paying jobs for people, not teachers, not student-oriented. You think after the deterioration of our school and our achievement levels and where we rank, that somebody on a school committee, especially the chairman, who was also the mayor, who was also a retired, although he wasn't a teacher, was he? He was a guidance counselor, I think. But he wasn't formally a teacher. I think he was a guidance counselor. But the reality is, you think somebody with that background in education could figure out that this system, there's something wrong with it. It's broken. We can't crack the top 200, yet we've got a career educator as the mayor. We had a career educator on the school committee. We had a career educator in the educational system for 30 years or so. But did anything happen? No. Now he's become an expert in public safety, which we'll talk about later. He's going to say that it doesn't matter where you put ambulances, and that's an absolute crock of crap.
Well, what bothers me most is that when we look back at this election we just had, it wasn't the red wave they were thinking.
No.
Okay, it was more like a purple bump. And we saw how people were easily swayed to vote Democrat. Okay, and I'm not saying Democrats wrong, Republicans wrong, although I call Democrats libtards because they're so liberal it's ridiculous.
Yep.
They're so liberal they're almost conservative. And I'm afraid that with the city election coming up next year, that they're going to elect Paul again for no reason. Last time they elected, well, we want to give him 2 terms. We want to see what he can do because, he's a good guy. And after all, Ponte only thinks it's a ceremonial mayor. And guess what? All this mayor has done is ceremonial.
No, you're right.
It's all been ceremonial. So, you've got to look at what you're voting for, and you've got to be really, really careful and stop saying, well, he's a good guy. He fixed my pothole. He got my fence fixed. I don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
I want to hear what has he successfully done for the city of Fall River because he's an incumbent. And if he hasn't done anything successfully for the city of Fall River, except, as they're claiming, Fall River is now worth $7 billion, and we've got a $300 million increase in new growth.
You just opened up the door. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you so much for opening up that door.
Oh, I'm always good for that.
It shows where their perspective is. And I'm planning. I may go down to the city council to really, speak to those people, because
not that they listen.
No, not that they listen, but they're clueless. Mm-hmm. We have a councilor saying, "Oh, I want to just reaffirm how well we're doing and how it." I hate to tell you this, councilor. and you're not really an elected councilor, you got slid in there because people didn't want it. You better get your rose-colored glasses off and start looking at the reality. 700 billion, 300 billion, that's not helping the average people in Fall River. You were elected to represent the people of Fall River. Out-of-town and in-town developers who are making hundreds of millions of dollars, and the assessment is a negative in the city of Fall River. Not a positive, because most of the people that have stayed in Fall River are elderly, can't afford to move out, and they won't be able to afford their taxes. You're going to displace people, just like you're doing with your apartments. You don't have a clue. Your priorities are skewed toward, you are an academic. You live in your academic tower, divorced from reality. The school department gets unlimited funds no matter how bad they spend them. Nobody cares that the budget keeps growing, the educational attainment goes down. There's nothing being done for the students. There's nothing being done. We're making, the superintendent of schools who's making 250 grand got 8 assistants. Principals have got 2 vice principals and a whole bunch of other people. And what do the teachers have in a classroom? Nada. What's our educational attainment level? Nothing. We're one of the lowest in the state. We can't crack the top 200. And we got a career educator as the mayor. And now he's an expert in public safety. We'll get that later. And you know, these kind of headlines, they just piss me off. I'm sorry. We're just going to keep elevating ourselves. Why Mayor Coogan wants a 3rd term? He said, you know, we're gonna keep moving forward. I'm not patting myself on the back. You get bursitis. The council heard what people wanted, $2 million in opera funds to go to youth programs. You don't even listen to the people, Paul. You and that bobble-headed council, with the exception of a few, you cater to your rich and privileged people. You live in your academic bubble that doesn't accomplish anything. There's no merit in that system, because the school system has continued to degenerate with a career educator as the mayor and as a school committeeman. But nobody pays attention. We just keep adding more jobs to your friends. And the school system, we can't crack the top 200 in education. Let's hear your excuse. You're going to blame it on those people and not they're minorities, like you did? Did everybody forget that? Yeah, no. But this is it. We're going to keep elevating ourselves. Like, the council appropriated $2 million to youth programs. You know, it must be really difficult to breathe with your head that far up your rectum. I'm telling you. Youth programs, you're going to give $2 million to youth programs for youth who are now going to be displaced because you won't build enough affordable housing.
Right.
Because remember, this is the statistic that it has on the United States Census Bureau. Only 36 point, I believe it's 7, but forget about the decimal point. We'll even round that up, 37% of the housing in Fall River is owner occupied. Most people rent, as they do in most cities. Even Cambridge, which is a rich city, 72% of the people rent. A lot of people don't realize that. You go to Cambridge,
Oh, yeah.
all those people have apartments.
Right.
They rent.
And by the way, Cambridge still has rent control.
That's right, exactly. And because they're the elitists. The elitists take care of themselves.
Right.
Paul doesn't take care of the average people in Fall
No,
River.
no.
The government's, the U.S. Census Bureau says the average income for an individual is $26,000 and change. One of the lowest, if not the lowest, maybe the second lowest in the Commonwealth. But are you worried about how, we're going to put 8 units aside? 8 units. But we might give them to people who are transitioning and recovering from addiction and homelessness. How about the people you're going to make homeless by never addressing getting affordable housing for median income people? Actually, the governor-elect said that at the retirement board's conference down at the Cape. When she spoke at the Cape, she said the biggest problem Massachusetts faces is affordability of housing for the average person, not the poor people. And Fall River has one of the lowest per capita incomes in the state. But are you making that a priority? There are companies, and you know this well, that specialize in making affordable housing for medium and low-income people. But do you do anything? You're going to accommodate 8 units. 8 units! This is what you do? 8 units. We're going to put 8 units. And we're going to, nothing from the Opera Fund was putting into housing. New Bedford did. And this guy, it's just, he's so far out of touch. He doesn't care, frankly, in my opinion. But he says he's not patting himself on the back. Well, you know, you shouldn't pat yourself on the back. The fact is, you and the city council are supposed to be representing the people of Fall River, not special interest groups, rich people, because that's your thing. You're an elitist now. Who cares that the public schools are underperforming? We can't crack the top 200, yet we have one of the largest school budgets. We got a whole bunch of high pay. You're creating more. You're making something in maintenance. You're making another superintendent. You know, you got all kinds of high-paying jobs. But that's the great thing about government. If in business you underperform and don't do anything, you lose your business. In government, they just give you more money. And that's the problem. And they're going to keep elevating ourselves. How about elevating the average person in the city of Fall River? How about getting that company that you know very well, I know that, how about getting that company in here to build a Ford? You're even trying, this is how bad and how out of touch you are. When they knocked down a project on Rodman Street.
Yep, Watapa Heights.
They guaranteed that was going to be low-income housing.
Yes, they did. 100
units. And our
units.
corporation council's trying to get a waiver on that because your greedy rich friends want to take a piece of that too. This is how much you care about the people you represent. You don't want to have, you fundamentally have proven you don't give a damn about the average person in Fall River. You're an elitist. And you only cater to the rich and privileged. You don't care. You want to take away that parcel that was agreed upon. Where the hell is the Coalition for Social Justice? What rock are they hiding under? I want to know, because this is outrageous. You don't have a clue. You're totally out of touch with the regular people. You're going to give $2 million for playgrounds, and that's fine if you got all your other problems are solved. But you don't care. You don't care that you're going to displace thousands of people with this pipe dream that everybody from Boston's going to come down to a city that's been #1 in crime and has an underperforming educational system. You know, you're living in the academic ivory tower that you worked in for your entire life.
Well, you know, what's really interesting is that $2 million, for them to get that passed by the city council, except for one vote, they called in a boxing group, a boxing studio, whatever you want to call it, a boxing gym.
Yeah, gym.
A boxing gym. And they brought, like they did with the Durfee project, they try and stand all the little ones.
Yeah.
Okay, saying how much they need this, how much they need this, how much they need this. Because this is wonderful for me. It's giving me confidence. It's giving me some. And you know what? It does. It does give them confidence. It does build them up. But how does that affect the general public? Not just these kids. How does it affect general public. This money was not supposed to be for special projects. This money was supposed to be for projects to benefit the general public.
Yeah, well, let me ask you something, CJ. And you know that I was a licensed trainer. I trained boxers and MMA fighters. And the fact is that are those kids going to eat their boxing gloves when their parents lose their apartments because they can't afford their apartments, and Paul is only focusing on his rich friends getting apartments? That's the problem. The problem is, there's nobody that's more programs for kids than I am. But the reality is, you're going to earmark that kind of money and then throw their parents out on the street because these out-of-town developers, absentee landlords, are doubling and tripling the rent for people of medium and low income. They're going to throw them out in the street. There was isn't it ironic that there was an article in the New Bedford Times about a retired school teacher who, by the way, being a retired school teacher means you got a halfway decent pension.
Right.
You're not living, you didn't live till you're 80 years old and 90 years old and your pensions dwindle down because you're a public employee. They're throwing him out of his apartment. They said, you got to get out because we're like tripling the rent.
Right, I remember
this guy's got a
that.
decent, but do you see anything like that in the Herald News? No, this is the garbage that they write. Propaganda pieces. That's what they write. And this is the problem. These people don't care about the average people in Fall River. They do not care that these people. I guess Paul is making so much with his pretty good pension because he was a vice principal, and I know he was making 6 figures. Mm-hmm. And now his mayor's salary. So now, no problem, no big deal. I don't have to worry about the peasants. We're gonna give them 8 units, but those 8 units we're gonna try to give them to people maybe who are coming back from drug addiction. Well, guess what? You're gonna throw the kids who you want to go use this grant for, and they're gonna be living in a car with their mothers and fathers because they don't have a place to live. That makes a lot of sense. You can tell you spent your life in that academic bubble, walking around, getting all the money guaranteed from you from the state because of net school spending formulas and everything else. No matter how much you waste, you just keep getting money. And now you're on the city side, and no matter how many people you displace from their homes because you're allowing these people unfettered access to develop in the city with a total disregard. You're even trying to get back Maple Gardens. When that was knocked down.
No, it was Watuppa Heights.
Watuppa Heights, I'm sorry. Yeah, Watuppa Heights. You'll probably try it with Maple Gardens later anyway. Okay, thank you for the correction because they'll jump all over me.
Exactly.
But I should know that. I went to all of those projects, but the fact is that when it was knocked down, it was supposed to be guaranteed to go to low-income housing to help the people in Fall River. But your corporation council's looking for a waiver so you can get your greedy developer friends and get their fingers into that too. You won't even give them 100% of that the city promised. You're going to give it to predatory developers, not people who actually. No, you can't even give a little 8 units, but we might put in people who are drug rehab. Not that they don't need it, but this community, the average income of an individual is $26,000.
Right.
That is absurd. That is the federal government statistic, and you're doing nothing for the people you represent, and neither is the city council. This is feel-good crap. That's all it is. CJ, you know that you know a lot more about that company that does this stuff. Mm-hmm. So why don't we actually speak some reality here? Because you're going to give these kids a boxing gym, and they're going to be living in their car with their mother and father.
I'll give you a perfect location that has the idea of how to do this. Look at Board and Place East and West. That's the company.
Yep.
They know how to run these projects.
Yep.
They know how to run these homes. They know how to run these apartments. They know what they're doing. They've done, and they're making money. So obviously you can make money using affordable housing. Okay? I don't want to hear that you can't. You can make money with affordable housing because there's tax breaks. As a matter of fact, we pay the CPA tax, which we can line item on our tax bill, but we can't line item our debt exclusion. We can't show that. But the CPA has money set aside. It's sitting in an account just for affordable housing projects. Why aren't we using that? Why hasn't a developer been called in to use that? Why couldn't somebody do that? Why? Because they're greedy. Because Fall River is a poor community, and what they do with poor communities is they take advantage.
But Paulie doesn't care about the poor people.
That's right.
He doesn't care. And
And especially coming from the school system where you see 73% of the students get free or reduced lunch.
bingo! Bingo! We don't need any affordable housing, do we? 73% of these people. But you're worried about putting $2 million in for, I know you're a school teacher. You saw kids every day in the schools. So obviously, and we like kids. They can be volunteers. They used to, down in the Armory, they used to have volunteers teaching stuff. They had judo, boxing, all kinds of stuff down
I
there.
remember.
Okay? But let me just digress just a bit and get back to the fact that they don't want to tell us how much we're paying in taxes. The duty of accountability. The cases between the International Federation of Professional and Technical Engineers, Local 21 FNCO, and Superior Court of California. The court opined that, quote, implicit in a democratic process is the notion that a government should be accountable for its actions. So you have to be transparent, Paul. You have to tell us what we're paying for those taxes. And I don't care what your corporation counsel's opinion is, because your corporation counsel is trying to renege on a deal they made on Watuppa Heights. I got it right this time, right?
Yep, Watuppa Heights.
Yeah, all right. But because I went to all of those projects, but this is the problem that we have. We have an elitist mayor. We have a mayor who doesn't care. He had a nice job in a school department. Whether he performed, underperformed, didn't perform at all, he got his paycheck. He's a lifelong
Tick.
political tick. Yep.
Polytick. Many bloodsuckers.
And they're used to it.
Yep.
And they cater to the rich, and he's catering to the rich now in a community where the majority of people are poor. The average income. We have 18.3 or 18.6% of people living on below $14,000 a year.
Yeah.
13,000 something. Can you imagine the poverty of living on that when you're losing $7,000, the last $7,200 to inflation? Subtract $7,200 from 13,000. These people are living
On $5,800.
There you go. But you don't care, Paul. You never cared. You walked around in the school department collecting your paycheck and never had any accountability. And therein lies the problem. You will be held accountable in the next election.
I hope so. I hope so. I hope the people will open their eyes and really look at this and look at all the candidates, or one or two candidates that come out and decide to run. Because I think it's important that politicians be changed like diapers. All for the same reason.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And you know who said that?
That's right. Well, I want to thank you all for watching. Time flies when we're having fun. Remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. We'll see you on Wednesday. Have a good day.